Hi, this is Cheryl St.Pierre, and this is a video that I'm making with Beebeecraft. These are some delicate chandelier earrings that we are making with these fantastic rose gold colored rondelle crystals, and I can't tell you how stunning these beads you really need to see for yourself the fantastic color that they are. They just don't show up on camera as beautiful as they are in real life. They are just stunning, and with the copper being rose gold color right now, it looks stunning. But I tell you, when the copper antiques and gets dark, it's just going to bring out the brilliance of the beads even more. And so I look forward to showing you how to make these beads, these earrings with these beads. And so this is what you will need. You're going to need these this case of rose gold rondelle beads. It comes in 4 sizes. They're here. I actually have the list here of the sizes that they are, and you can see how many pieces of each size that they are. Instead of me reading it to you, there you could take a snapshot of that and see for yourself. And of course, I will have the link to these beads in the description of where you can buy them from Beebeecraft. But don't forget that a $40 order US is free shipping. So definitely worth a look around to get that free shipping in there. And okay, so what you're going to need, well, actually first, before I want to talk supplies, is I want to say the package opening that I do where I get these products from Beebeecraft, you can do too. All you need is a channel that has 100 subscribers, and you can apply to become a package opening, they call it, oh gee, it's got a special name to it. Anyways, if you want to do it with them as well, you know, you just have to apply, and they have more than just jewelry making supplies. So take a good look around. There might be something that really piques your interest that you think you could do a tutorial on, you know, and it's not that hard to do. And so what you're going to need to make these earrings is you're going to need 3 different sizes of wire. And what you will need is you're going to need some 16 gauge wire. You're going to need 2 7-inch pieces of 16 gauge wire, and I'll have it in metric for you in the description. You're also going to need a 4 or 5-inch piece that you will use. Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry about that. So that's 2 7-inch pieces and 1 4-inch piece of 16 gauge wire, and I'm using dead soft raw copper. And you will need 2 foot to 2 feet and a quarter, depending how much of a tail you like. If you're using silver, just use 2 feet. If you're using copper, use 2 1/4 feet. I'm just going to put 2 feet in the description, and you can just add a bit extra to give yourself some working space. And you're going to need some 24 gauge for making your bead drops, which is really delicate. If you want to go 22 gauge, by all means do that and do the same technique. I used 2 13-inch pieces and 1 8 or 9-inch piece. I'm going to put 9 inches in the description, and that's just to be working wire to make your bead drops with. And I'll show you how it's all done. So I love these earrings. They're gorgeous. You're also, for tools, you're going to need your flush cutters, your round nose pliers, your shade nose pliers. You're going to need a ring mandrel, a ruler, a pair of I forgot to mention it before, you're going to need your ear wires, of course, and that will be in order in the description. And I'm thinking, is there anything else you need? I think that's everything. So I think we're ready to start. So let's begin. Okay, I want you to take one of your 16 gauge wire. You've got 2 longer pieces and 1 shorter piece. Take one of the longer and one that's shorter, and then you're going to take your weaving wire, and that's your 26 gauge weaving wire, and we're going to start. Well, we're taking, you've got 2 pieces of the weaving wire, so you just take one of them. And we're going to start with wrapping around the longer piece, and we're going to just pinch it together, and we want 12 rotations. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and then you're going to cinch it up. And if you need to, because my nails break from this, so I use a plier to push it down, and then you're going to introduce the shorter piece of your 16 gauge and just wrap once around it. And why did it do that? Didn't go. Okay, and now I'm going to go, oh, I know what I did wrong. We want to go down the middle because you want to crisscross. And okay, so there you've got your 12, and then you're going to put your second piece of 16 gauge there, so it goes on top of the weaving wire here. I'm going out of the center there, and then we're going to go down like this, so that essentially you've done a figure 8 in there, and then you're going to go 12 times around that wire again, the longer wire. You can see it's the longer wire. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and then you're going to cinch that up so it's nice and tight. And then you're going to go around this once. So basically you're just going 12, 1, 12, 1. And then you want to make sure you do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We want 5 of the ones. And so you can continue doing 5 of where it's the 1, and then we do 12 more rotations. And I'll show you, I'll be back when it's done. Okay, so I'm back, and I've got all the weaving done, and it's 12, 1, 12, 1, 12, 1, 12, 1, 12, 1, 12. And then you can snip off. I'm just going to shorten this just to make it easier to demonstrate. So what I want you to do now is the shorter wire, the one with all the ones around it, I want you to just pull it out. Okay, and now we're going to cut off these ends and cinch them in, or squish them in, crimp them in, the ends in, so that it has the least chance of poking anybody. So I've cut it off close, and then the direction that the wire is rotating around, I'm going to basically, I'm tapping it down and then twirling that direction with the pliers to flatten it, and in hopes that it's going to make it a smooth transition without any sharp pokes. It's not 100% gonna be perfect, but you're gonna do the best you can do. And they always spread apart. Don't worry about that. We'll squish it together as best we can. And now we're gonna do the other side, snipping it as close to the wire as I can and crimping it in. Oh, needs more. It must have a burr sticking out or something. I wonder if the camera will pick it up better than my eyes. Anyways, so getting as best I can. There. Now, you need to do the exact same thing for the other wire. Just catch it up to this one, and it slides easily, so don't worry about what position you got it in. So I'll be back and do mine, and you can do yours. Okay, so I have both of mine done now, and I think the next step we're going to take is, when you look at this, we need to turn the circles in the direction so that it's parallel with the 16 gauge wire. And if you look at it, the loops are angled slightly already in one direction because that's the way the weaving was. We're going to continue going with that direction because they will sit naturally better. So we're going to start from one end and just turn them flat one at a time. So they're parallel with the 16 gauge wire so that we can hang our beads off of them. See, so they look like that now. So it's really simple. And then what we're going to do is we're going to pinch each one to work harden it, because they're 26 gauge wire, but it is a fairly small circle, so they should hold their shape really well anyways, but that just work hardened that just that much more. Okay, so we've got that done. I'm doing it to the other one quickly. It's really fast. One. There. Now I'm going to slide the weaving to the center of the 16 gauge wire. Okay, on both of them. So it's real easy to do. Slides really easy. Compress it together. Then I'm taking my ring mandrel. Now I'm using a metal one, but you can use, if you don't have a metal one, we're not hammering on it. You could do use a plastic ring sizer too. And I'm going to make the shape around, let's do size 11.5. I mean, it's your own personal preference. I'll measure the diagonal there for you in case you don't have a ring mandrel, so that you can find something round that's similar. So I'm just going to crisscross it. Now, bear in mind, it springs back a little bit, but I'm going to grab my ruler and I'm going to measure it in millimeters. You should get used to millimeters because you can measure more accurately. So it's approximately 1 inch, 25 millimeters in diameter, which is 1 inch. So you've got both there. So that's pretty good. Okay. So I'm going to do the same with the other one. And then we're going to try and work them, you know, beside each other to have them as similar as possible. So size 11.5. And if the loops move on you, don't worry about it. You can put them back. Okay. So because they flip around really easy. So don't stress about that. And I don't have them centered, so they can be centered later. Okay. That one didn't round off as much as I'd like it to. You can perfect that either with the ring mandrel or with your fingers or a plier. And you wanted to make sure they're similar in size. They don't have to be perfect because it won't be that obvious, but you know, do your best. Okay, now, and we don't have to mirror them. You could if you wanted to, but I'm not planning on mirroring. I want the top wire to be straight, so I'm just straightening it like this. Don't worry about marring because we're going to be doing a hammering technique later. Okay, and I want it is making it smaller here just from me doing this, and as long as we keep them both similar in size, they'll be just fine. Okay, so I've got it. I'm going to measure that so you know approximately what I've done. So I've made them smaller. The diagonal now is 2 centimeters. And it is from the cross to the bottom about 43 millimeters. And now I'm going to try and do the same with this one. So I'm just going to hold it over top. And I'm going to squish this to be, this one is not bending as freely as the other one did. Okay, now it's, so you want them similar in shape and size. Okay, that's not too bad. Okay, so then the next steps, again, we're going to do the very same technique on both of them. And I want to do, okay, I'm holding them firmly, holding it firmly like this, and I want to bend that around this wire. So I'm going down, and again, I'm holding firm, and I'm bending it back behind itself, like that. Okay, and it's okay if it's big and round like that. We actually want that. We don't want to flatten that, so don't take pliers to it. And I want you to do the same with the other one. And again, did it change in crossing? Maybe a little. Okay, so I'm going to do that. Okay, so I've got them both like that now. They're both similar in size. Now, I'm going to take my round nose pliers and make the hanging loop. So I'm going to take it not quite halfway, so not too big of a loop, but big enough. And I'm going to wrap it like this, and we got to be consistent for both. So I've got it like this. And then we're going to snip it, and we're going to make it so that the wire touches itself. And we're going to do that. I've got a reference that I'm looking at in case you're wondering. So yes, we want it to be underneath this wire. So make sure it's long enough that it's going to reach. Snip that off. And I'm just going to go in here and bend it in and flatten it. So that's what it looks like. So it's got a little bit of a space there, but that's okay because we can close that up. There. Okay. So I'm going to do the same for this one now. Exactly the same. I'm going to snip it where it needs to be. If I have to snip it shorter, I can. It's longer, but it's okay. That's not going to take away from the earring at all. There. That one's done. Now, what I want to do, this is going to end up being the front. Even though I keep showing that as the front, but it's, you'll see why in a minute. Now, this is a little bit long because, well, first off, no, it won't be too long. We're going to bend this in the middle. If yours is too long, you can snip some of it off. We want this to go straight down now. Okay, so this is the side we're at. And we're just by hand going to make, I'll show you from the side view. We're going to make a loop. And at this point, it's going to kind of bend that. I don't want that to get wrecked up there, so I'm going to support it with my pliers like this. And it slips on me. Okay, and I'm going to come back up. So it looks like that. And I'm going to snip it off here. Get in your view. Okay. So I'm going to snip it off up here because I want it to go a little bit inside that loop. So now I'm going to take my round nose pliers and just push it in a little bit. Just trying not to get a burr. If you end up with a burr anyways, you can file it down. Okay, so this will be the front where it's just showing one loop, and this will be the back where it shows two. Okay, and that one's done. And I'm just gonna fix my curve here a little bit. It's hard to do. I'm going to put my ring mandrel in there and push against it. Only with my thumb, if at all possible. I don't want to mar the weaving, if at all possible. Okay, here we go. And now we're going to do the same with this one. I'm going to do a little bit quicker. I do have to trim this one, so I'm going to, because I can't get it through. Okay, so it's going straight down. Now I'm going to bend it around. And this one worked a little bit easier for me. to snip that off. And bend it in. There. Now I want this loop to go straight up and down if at all possible. So straighten that out. Check this one if it's straight up and down. I think it was. Okay. So the comparison is they're very similar. If they're not perfect, that's okay, because they're handmade. But they're pretty close. So that's what we want. I'm just gonna strain, flatten this a little bit here. There, center it. Okay. Now the next step is to we're going to make our drops. Now I'm just going to show you one, but basically what we're going to do is we're taking I'm going to open up and take out. We're going to make all the drops have a top of the tiniest bead of the sizes, which is 3 by 2. So each drop is going to have one of those. And then the biggest one, we're going to have the 8 by 6 rondelle hanging from the middle. And then the 6 by 4 rondelles hanging on beside them. And then the 4 by 3 will be at the ends. So I will demonstrate with the 8 by 6 rondelle. And by the way, I know the colors aren't shown up well on the camera here, but these are so stunning. The color of these beads are so stunning. And even when the copper gets dark, it's going to look brilliant with these beads. Okay, so now you take one of your 1-foot working pieces of 24 gauge wire. And I do a 1 foot length at a time because it's just easier when you're making bead drops. So I want you to make a small loop at the very end and close it up. And that's gonna, I'm not sure if I grabbed the right one here. It's gotta be. Okay. We're making a head pin, and it's a very light gauge head pin. And the reason we're doing that is because we're working with light gauge wire, and it just makes it not look so. I'm just double checking. This is my prototype. I must have the wrong size here. Just gonna double check. Okay, so I'm changing up what I have here. This is 24 gauge, I'm going to 22. I'm going to 22 gauge. I will be right back. I'm back, and it was 24 gauge I wanted. Like I thought, I just had a piece of the 26 gauge by accident. So I'm going to cut off a piece of 24 gauge wire, and I'm going to work harden it a little bit. And I'm going to make a loop. I'm going to clear this up so you can see better. A fairly small loop, probably as small as your round nose pliers can make comfortably. And then I want you to make it so that it's an eye loop. Here, I'll have it there, so you can see that it's an eye loop. And now I'm work hardening it even more. I'm squeezing it, not too hard, tapping And then I'm going to make this wire straight and work hardening it. And then I'm going to put the beads on that I want. Now it's not heavyweight, they're only dangling from an earring, so there's no stress being put on it. So we're putting on the 8x6 rondelle, and then one of the tiny 3x2 rondelles on top. Now for your drops, the next thing that we're doing, the round nose pliers, is, oh, my sweater got caught on there. There. Got off just as easily as it went on. Okay. And I want you to be consistent with all of your earrings or drops like this. So I am measuring the largest part. No, sorry. I want it to be 4 wraps. Okay, so it's just slightly then halfway around. Let's make it halfway up your pliers for the wraps. And you're going to bend it forward and then make a loop a little bit bigger than you would for an earring. But you need to, and if you have to mark your pliers with markers so you're consistent, being consistent is very important. And we're going to stop at that point. We're not wrapping because we have to. We can't slide it on as we make it. We have to put it on there and work it from there. So I'm putting it on. And you can do both of your earrings alternating. You could do the 2 8x6 ones first. That way you can get all your beads out at the same time. And I recommend closing your box after getting out the sizes, because it's so easy to spill, and that way you won't make a mess and mix up your sizes. Easily done. Been there, done that. Not with these ones, but with other ones. Okay, and then you need to carefully hold, and it can get tricky with this, and wrap around to make your wire. Now, if you wanted to use 22 gauge wire to make it a little bit stronger, that would be your choice. But I went with 24 gauge. I just thought it would be easier to work with, especially since my hands are a little bit sore right now from working on the house so much. Our house is up for sale, and so much stuff needed to be done, and my hands are taking a toll from it. So just now I'm going to cinch everything up, make it flat. These are really lightweight earrings. Okay, so there, that one's done. So we're going to do the same process, and again, I'm going to say the sizes. Well, actually, I'm going to get it done, and then you can see the sizes, and I'll say the sizes when I point it out to you. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead, do both earrings on the bottom, and see you when they're done. Okay, so I came back. I've got the next size done, which was the 6x4 rondelles with the 3x2s on top. And there's 4 of them, whereas the 8x6 rondelles, there was only 2 of them. Okay, and now next is we're going to do the 4x3 ones with the 3x2 one on top. And I'll be back to show you them. Okay, so I have all my bead drops on the bottoms done. Now, because it is such fine wire and they can bend very easily, I want you to just make sure they're all straight and that the wire's crimped in, and it won't hurt it to straighten it going like this with your pliers, because it'll work harden it and strengthen it. And just make sure they're all sitting straight. And you know, this is going to move, and that's okay, so you can fix it up at the end. Right now you're going to be doing some manipulations with it, so they'll probably move on you anyways, so don't do that part next. The last part is to make the bead drop for the center here, and that's why we made this loop, is we're hanging a bead drop off of that. So your last piece of wire that you need of the 24 gauge, do it 8 or 9 inches long, and I'm just going to cut that off right now. The other two pieces, I recommend, you know, I did 12 inches, but you could do 13. It gives yourself a little bit more of a handle at the end. So I'm going to do this 9 inches long. It's going to give me, it's going to be, you know, lengthy. I'm being generous just because it's easier to work with. If you're working with sterling silver, I don't think it'd be that expensive to add an inch, excuse me, of the 24 gauge, because 24 gauge, it shouldn't be that costly. So I'm just gonna, again, for the first one, I always like to work harden it a little bit extra. The other ones are gonna naturally get work hardening in there. So I don't have my beads out yet. So what we're gonna need for that center bead drop is 1 bead of each size. So you're going to need 1, and I'm going to take out 2, so I have 1 for each earring. 2 8x6s, then 2 6x4s, because we're doing 1 of each size. Yeah, and then 2 4x3s, and then 2 3x2 rondelles. So I'm just going to get the head pin ready, make that bottom loop. And I'm going to do this on purpose to be a little bit off center, just to demonstrate what to do, problem shooting. So if you do your loop, and well, again, this isn't too bad. Let me try and make it worse. If it turns out that it's not quite round and it's got a really long, awkward end, what I want you to do is just snip off part of it. And see, now the rest of it's nicely round. And continue, put in your round nose pliers as far as it'll go, and continue to make it, and it'll come out perfectly round. And then I'm going to put that in and straighten this so that it becomes an I shape instead of a P shape. I'm going to work harden it, and I'm actually going to close it this way, just because I don't want to bend the eye portion. Okay, there. So I've work hardened that, work hardened this, and I'm going to do a longer portion of it. Okay, and now I'm starting with the largest bead, put all 4 beads on, in graduated size. Okay, and now I'm doing the exact same distance for the wrapping portion, but what will be different is the top loop, and we're going to do it in the center because we want it big to go around the big wire. It's not going around the dainty little wire. It's going around the big wire. So I'm making a big loop. And it can be difficult to do this. And you want it to go around the front part of it. Otherwise, it will hang funny if you go around the back. So you got to make sure you're at the front. And then close your loop. And you're going to be fighting with the earring. And it's not easy. So bear with me as I fight with it. And be patient with yourself. Okay, I managed that, okay. And, but the fight could be worse than that, trust me. Crimp that in and straighten it out. And this is the one that can be more bent than the other ones because it's extra long. So you gotta make it nice and straight. Mine's really bent, and that is understandable because of the fight you have to do to get it in position or to wrap it. Okay, it's still crooked. Get that straight. And you just keep working with it, straightening until you're happy with the look of it. I'm just going to do one in front of you, and because it's basically the same process. I'm being picky here. I'm not happy with the way it's sitting. There. Okay, I think that's good. And there that is. And I'll quickly get the other one done and I'll be back. Okay, so I have both center dangles done and straightened as best I can. And trust me, that it can be very difficult making these, so be patient with yourself, take your time. The color is just amazing. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is, because this thick wire is kind of boring looking, I want to give it a hammered look. But with the style of earring it is, because these don't sit flush from the side. One is way further back than the other. Yeah, this is sliding around on me. If you can see that. You can't hammer it. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to put the wiring centered here, so that the bottom dangle is in the center. I mean, the middle dangle is right in the middle of the hoop. And we are going to pinch the wire to give it a hammered look. And I want you to take your time and be artistic and go different directions. And you can squeeze fairly hard. You don't want to squish it to nothing. I'm not strong enough to do that, but I'm sure some of you are. So just enough to give it that, see, it's getting that hammered look to it. And it might also help this wire stay where it's supposed to, because it'll have a change in sizing at the edge there. And I'm actually going to use both hands at places, changing directions. I find if I go closest to the end, the large end of my round nose pliers, it'll give a bigger groove and give a more realistic hammered look. And it does it on both sides at the same time, so that's okay. And now I'm going to work on the opposite side. And it doesn't take long, and you'll be done. And, you know, by all means, go over where you've been before. It just gives it a more realistic look. And if you want, you can do it to the hoop part too. Just a few. And that one is done. It's ready to put the ear wire on. Matter of fact, I will put the ear wire on it. And I will work on the other one and be back. Oops, open this up a little bit bigger. Okay, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I have the ear wires on. They're both have the hammered look. And there we go. And I'm just gonna set them down here. A little hard to do. And zoom in. Here we go. And they are done. Thank you for joining me in this video. And God bless. And we will see you in the next one. Bye for now.